Assalamu alaikum. This is the prequel to the Bobby's Mum video that I've already uploaded. I had uploaded this previously, but somehow it disappeared. I titled it Police Flashlights in My Face, which will be the same title that I will give it now. It's part of my, let's call it the traumatic experiences that I use as warnings for parents and others today in America, USA, 2025. And you know, the older you get, the more you recall the past. I mean, it's some sort of a proven scientific fact that when you get older, let's say my age, 77, you can remember the past better than you can remember current events. And I would certainly attest to that, honestly. So when I think it would be useful as a heads up, I'm going to do it. I mean, I'll still maintain, my dedication to the religion and mainly give you religious tafsir of Quran and Arabic meanings, etc. Allah's names and attributes, etc. is my favorite, and it's the reason I made the channel. But this one, there's a lot of talk now about Muslims in America and how they should behave and how they should somehow assimilate and how they ought to be more welcoming in the country of their residence. Yes, I do believe they should be more welcoming. Yes, they should assimilate to the good parts of America. But you be the judge about the good parts of America after you hear my upload today about the police flashlights. By the way, I've never had any sort of citation and never been arrested and never been whatever. I'm squeaky clean, but this is something I think you'll find amusing, interesting, and maybe a bit unusual for someone like me. But we used to have a gang of girls, and we used to hang out at the driveway of a home at the top of my street. I think I mentioned to you before, we were 6 girls, and we were all Irish descent girls, so we were all raised similarly, which is a little bit of unrestricted freedom, because we would go out all day and not come home until the what do they call them, the lights went on at Maghrib time, which would be sundown. But no, actually we were supposed to be home for what we called supper dinner, which was usually at 5:36. But this was a weekend, and we would congregate in our special driveway, and it was way at the end of a home that was up at the top of the hill. And they didn't care. They didn't even know we were down there, and we'd smoke our cigarettes and sing and just act like 13, 14-year-old girls would act. And then we'd be home because we weren't supposed to stay out late. We should probably be home max on the weekend at that age, 8 o'clock, because we all lived in the immediate vicinity. And there were never boys. Well, on this particular evening, there was a boy who happened by, and he was a classmate of mine. And before I knew it, everyone was gone, and I was standing there with him. And as I said, he was a classmate of mine in the Catholic school. So yes, I couldn't have been more than 13. And they were building a new home right on that street on the other end. And it was, for us, a curiosity because it was a modern home, a split level, or maybe even a one-level ranch house, we called it. We stopped by to take a look because we all lived in, you can say, red brick, fancy homes. So for us, this was wonderful. It was like a symbol of modernity, and the door was open. We went in, we walked around. We were looking at how different, there were no appliances, no refrigerator, stove, nothing. It was just a recently finished construction. I don't know how it happened, honestly. What can I say? I mean, it started to get dark, and we were just chatting away, sitting on the floor, chatting away. Of course, I wasn't smoking because I hated smoking. I only smoked with my girlfriends, and he didn't smoke. Suddenly, we fell asleep. Now, I'm warning you and swearing to Allah that we didn't even kiss, but I think there was a hug involved. Suddenly, there were police flashlights in my face, and my father screaming. And he had gotten a hold of Bobby. I already mentioned his name in the Bobby's Mom upload. And he was hitting him. And the policeman said, no, 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 you can't do that. Please stop, Mr. Presley. No, no, he's just a kid. And so the two policemen pulled my dad off of Bobby. And of course, I'm crying. And my dad said, get home. Go home right now to me. And as I told you, I lived at not even the bottom of the street. I literally lived like 4 houses away. Walked in the door. My mom is sitting there saying, well, you're late, aren't you? And I said, Mom, I don't want to talk. She said, what's wrong? I said, I don't want to talk. You can talk to Dad. He's coming right now. I went up in my room, crying. I was scared to death. All I can tell you is it was a very traumatic experience. When my dad came through the door and started yelling at my mom, I never heard my dad lose his temper. He was an extremely controlled person. Honestly, I never heard him raise his voice. But this was not, he wasn't screaming. He was gruffly chastising my mom and saying, don't you tell your daughter to not do things like go in abandoned houses with a boy. I work so hard and I leave all the children up to you. That would be 8 children. At that time, it was probably, probably 7. Anyway, I just blocked my ears, closed my door, woke up the next morning, which was Sunday morning, and noticed that my dad had not woken me up for Sunday Mass. And that was very, very a crushing blow for me because out of all the children in the family, I was the most observantly religious one. And I always went to Sunday Mass with my dad and my brothers. And sister, if she ever did come along, like 10 years later after I was born. It was hardly enough for me because by the time we could have been close, I was out of the house. And then my little sister came along 17 years later. So I was basically involved with my brothers. And I got this feeling of loathing, like, how could he do this to me? How could he leave me on Sunday morning and not take me to Mass? He's very angry. However, shouldn't he give me some sort of a mini lecture on behavior and be a little bit fatherly, quote unquote? I just determined that I would get dressed in my Sunday best and I would go by myself. I told you it was about 2.5 miles, let's say. Yeah, maybe 2 at the max. Walk in our very suburban neighborhood, which was extremely safe. And I just walked to Mass. The weather was fine. And I had just gotten a new outfit, like a week before. So that made me a little bit happier that I put on my new clothes and left the house. My mother never said anything. I don't know if she was even awake. I really don't know. But it was the latest Mass. We would have the 6 o'clock Mass, 7 o'clock Mass, 8 o'clock Mass, 9 o'clock Mass, 10 o'clock Mass. I do believe this was an 11 o'clock Mass because we had so many Catholics in the neighborhood I grew up that it was normal. Everyone went to Mass on Sunday. So now this ends the prelude to Bobby's mom. And I will leave you now and let you backtrack to listen to Bobby's mom. Because if you had listened to it previously, it would have been just a mystery. What is this all about? It's all about the fact that my upload didn't upload, although I had titled it. However, enjoy. Think about your adolescents. Think about the difference now in what they're doing when they go out at night and how you probably don't know the half of it. You probably don't know 90% of what's going on, but you do know now that premarital sex is prevalent, drugs are rampant, and the music is simply disgusting. There is a hadith of Prophet Muhammad which says that music, yanbat النفاق في قلوب كما ينبت الماء البقل. الغنى, it's called غنى. It means that music grows in the heart, hypocrisy, just like water grows plants or vegetation, you may say. And the music that we had was extremely provocative, and now it's downright lascivious. Have a good Friday, everyone. Salamu alaikum.